Hey, what's up? This is the 6th video of the Master at Arms series, and if you haven't watched the other videos already, we already covered like A school, C school, the gear you're issued, like your vest and belt and everything. We've covered the ranking structure, we've covered everything. But today we're going to be talking about the uniforms, and this is the first one we're going to cover. It's the dress blue uniform, and depending on when you graduate at boot camp, you might graduate in this one or you might graduate in the dress whites. But basically this is kind of like a winter version of the white one, and the white one is the summer version. It's also more formal, but this is the blues. Now for a Master at Arms, first of all, everybody receives this uniform in boot camp, in preparation for graduation, and then you leave boot camp with it. But after you graduate A school, your uniform is going to change based on like what job you chose, what rating you chose, and then additionally with whatever service you go through, you're going to receive awards based on that, and then different length of service. You start getting hash marks on your sleeve, and you start to be able to distinguish yourself from other people based on like what you've done and everything. But for Master at Arms, obviously, the most significant thing on here is going to be the MA badge. Now you're going to receive this upon graduation of A school, and it's going to be given to you in a ceremony. You shake hands with the triad. That's already covered in the A school video, but that's what it looks like, the real one that you receive, the metal version. There's also a cloth version that you're going to wear on a different uniform that we're going to be covering a little later. Or you might have already seen it in the gear video because it's the uniform that all the gear goes on top of if you're not wearing the frog top. But also for Master at Arms, every rating in the Navy is going to have a specialty mark. You're taught that in boot camp, but then you actually get to see it, once you graduate. Now, depending on what job you have, it's going to have a different symbol here. For Master at Arms, it's going to be a little police badge because you're basically military police, security forces, and it could be something else. It might be crossed keys for like LS. It might be a little feather, what's it called, a quill for a yeoman, and it can change based on whatever job you have. For MA, it's going to be a little police badge. And I got one chevron because I'm a 3rd class, and I got the perched eagle because I'm a petty officer. So Petty Officer 3rd Class, or MA3, that's what that means. And on your right sleeve, this is to us the left side, but it's the right arm of the uniform. Whatever your command is, it might be a ship, it might be a base, it might be something else, but that's going to be on your right sleeve, around the shoulder area. So this is NAV Support Act, Bahrain, that's Naval Support Activity. They kind of jumble words together and shorten it down like that, and some of them can be kind of garbled up looking, but it does make sense after you join. But anyway, we got the neckerchief here. If you want to know how to tie that, this is not the best knot you've ever seen in the world, but I kind of put it on here quickly. This isn't, when you're standing up, this should be down here. You should be able to put your finger, and then it lines up here. But for demonstration purposes with this isn't bad. But if you want to know how to tie this, I made a video about it. You can learn it in 1 minute. So it's not that bad. And I have the white shirt under here. This is a regular white shirt, but it actually is a Navy shirt. It's one that you get in boot camp. And if that one gets worn down, I've had this one for like almost 2 years now, but it still works, because you almost never wear this uniform. The same white shirts from boot camp you can just keep wearing because you only wore it a couple of times. But I still have this, and if this one gets worn down, hey, guess what? You can just buy another one. So that's pretty much the dress blue uniform. You got a zipper on the side to close it because it's nicely fitted. You got standard cuffs and everything. It's overall my favorite uniform. I wish we wore it more, but I like it. And we're going to move on to the next one now. Now here are the dress blue uniform pants, and they look like something out of the 1800s, and that's because they pretty much are. Like, this uniform and the Marine uniform have been almost the same for hundreds of years at this point. Like, you can go back to the 1880s, 1850s, and for the Marines it goes back to the 1880s, but for the Navy it can go back even farther. The uniform has been almost the same for this entire time. There's been some changes, some updates. Like, for example, this looks like straight out of like Napoleon's time. Imagine this opens up and the whole thing would flap down. That's how it used to be, and when my dad was in Vietnam, I believe it was still like that. Like, you got 13 buttons for the 13 colonies, and my dad would complain to me like, I can't believe that we had to wear this because, if you're trying to go to the bathroom, you're like dancing in front of the bathroom while you're trying to unbutton all these. Well, they fixed that. The Navy does listen to its people, and they've updated it. So it opens with a zipper like any other pair of pants would these days, because we're not in 1820 anymore. But these are like faux pockets, or not really a pocket. It's supposed to be still mimicking the giant flap in the front. And what's interesting is when we come back to the dress whites, remember this because it is different. But so the actual pockets are going to be up here. Now the Navy and Marine Corps, they're not supposed to put their hands in their pockets, but the Army and Air Force can for some reason. And in keeping with the old traditional style, you also have the lace up in the back, and one more pocket back here. But it's like a museum piece, but this is what traditions look like. When you have a military force with, long honors and traditions, you carry it into the modern age, and that's what it looks like. By the way, there's a very exact way to fold these to protect them and to keep their form, and I'm going to be covering that someday, so make sure you like, subscribe, and turn the bell notifications on. And we're about to get back to the video, but I'm just unfolding the uniform right now. So we're not going to spend too much time on the dress whites because they're almost identical to the dress blues, except for the fact that the colors are reversed. The red chevron is gone, it's all navy blue now. The ribbon rack is in the same spot, meaning a 1/4 inch above the left pocket, but there is one major difference, and it's the fact that there's a pocket on the right side now, and you put the badge 1/4 inch above that pocket on all uniforms, except for the N-dubs, the Navy working uniform. The patch you put flush with the top of the pocket. I like the dichotomy of the navy blue on the white uniform with the patches, with the neckerchief, with the details on the collar, and overall it's a great uniform. So remember those pants from the dress blues that look like they're from Napoleon's time? Well, look at these. This is a whole different story. Like, you got a standard zipper, they don't have the giant flap, they have regular pockets like any other pair of pants for like a suit or anything. You got belt loops, which you don't have on the dress blue pants. You don't have the little notch in the front, and most importantly, you don't have the laces up the back, and you have 2 pockets, including one with a little tab on there. And if you're ever inspected, this being buttoned is part of your inspection. So this is the Navy service uniform. It's a uniform that's a lot more commonly seen than the dress blues or dress whites, and it does have some similar characteristics, like the ribbon rack is in the same spot, 1/4 inch above, badge 1/4 inch above the pocket too. We did switch out the shoulder patches, the sleeve ranks for collar insignia, secured by push pins, and we have the same white shirt worn with the other ones, and we also have one new addition. It's the garrison cover. They call it an overseas hat, a garrison cover, a side cap. It's all the same thing, and it does have the 3rd class rate insignia on there. And so I do like it. You see RDCs wearing it all the time. It's not really worn very often, but if you're up for like a board or something, and if you have some more formal event going on, you might find yourself in one of these. And I enjoy it. I like it a lot, and I think it's one of the best uniforms the Navy has. Here's the Dixie cup. It's going to be the cover for both the dress blues and the dress whites. Even though the uniform is different, the cover remains the same. And my name is still in it from boot camp. Like, the one from boot camp still works, so I don't know why we need to replace it. It is what it is. And it's a nice cover. It's more comfortable than you might think. And there's also the belt for the dress whites here. You got your belt, you got your buckle, it has to be shiny and all that stuff. And the RDCs are going to measure you, and then they're going to cut it based on your actual size. So they like pull it tight to your chest and then cut it with scissors, and then it's up to you to make it, complete. And the other side is already, capped. So you're going to be wearing the white belt with the dress whites uniform, and for the dress blues and the NSUs, you're going to be having a dark blue or a black belt and the same silver buckle. Like, you can have multiple silver buckles or just transfer one in between the belts. Either one's fine. But one other question you might have is like, how many of these do you have? And the answer is, for the NSUs, you get 2 of them, meaning 2 shirts, 2 pairs of pants. For the dress whites, you get 1 jumper, 1 pair of pants. Dress blues, 1 jumper, 1 pair of pants. And you get 3 sets of N-dubs, which is the next uniform we're about to go over. As for the stuff on the uniform, like the ribbons, the badge, and the stuff like that, the question might be like, do you have multiple ones? Do you have one on each uniform and just keep it in the closet like that? And the answer is, for the ribbons, you do have the option of just keeping 1 rack on each uniform and not have to take it off and put it on all the time. But I don't do that. A lot of people just have 1, and then you just move it in between the uniforms like I just did on these videos. For the badge, you only have one. So like if you lose it, if you break it, like the pin on the back can get broken off and stuff, you know, you have to turn in the old one to get the new one. They don't want these floating around for obvious reasons. You only have one badge at a time. But for stuff like the collar rates here, like the E4 crows we got on here, if you want those from the store, you just go and buy them, put them on the uniform. And for like these NSU uniforms, which is, you know, the only one you have this on, I do have those preset on the uniform, and you only take them off for laundry. So this is the Navy working uniform type 3. Like type 1 was the blueberries, type 2 is the like desert looking one, looks kind of like the marine camouflage. And this is the type 3, which is like woodland. And it's a uniform that you're going to spend about 99% of your career in. And we already covered it in the other video, so I'm not going to go over it much, but you do have a choice of patches. I got my rate tab there, MA3. I got my badge over the right pocket, and it probably makes more sense now why it's above that pocket instead of that one. And apparently it was a big shock that you could have a pen holder in here. But indeed it is in there. You can put a pen in there, and that's what that's there for. But, you know, that's a very, very well-used uniform. You're going to be in it a lot, and it's a very comfortable uniform. I like it, and it is what it is. So these are the pants for the Navy service uniform. You're not going to confuse these with the dress blue pants because, for one thing, they're not bell bottoms, and they're pleated down the fronts, and they don't have the lacing up the back. They have pockets. They don't have the giant flap in the front. You're not going to accidentally mix these up, and they are distinguishable, so there's no need to worry about that. It's kind of like the dress white pants, where they're kind of like just regular pants. So you also have this like white border around the middle to tell them apart. You got the size and everything in there, so they're comfortable. I like them, and that's what you're going to wear with your Navy service uniform.